Hi everyone, let's do this, let's talk. I feel like I'm not really doing the lives anymore like I used to, and it's kind of making me more camera shy and I write more, but some things don't come across in writing as well as maybe this way. So let's talk a little bit, and I tell you who inspired me to do this live. One of the Hungarian journalists who comes on my page, a Jewish journalist, Hungarian again, and she always just comes to trash and just comes and always says something very intimidating. So she said to my last post how amazing it is that I only lost 100 followers after I said openly that I voted for the Orban government in Hungary. And she said that you guys must be very tolerant. So my answer to her was that, honestly, I find it extremely beautiful that only 100% unfollowed me because I voted for Orban. Because even though we have a common denominator on this page, and I'm gonna get to that. But where this journalist goes very wrong is that I believe in a community where we can disagree on certain things and agree on other things. Why do we need to keep the same thoughts and everything? That's mission impossible. We don't agree on everything with our own mothers, with our husbands, with our kids, with nothing. That's impossible. So I'm extremely grateful to you guys that even if you totally disagree with my political affiliation in this regard, you still understand something, that my fight against antisemitism is not a bipartisan issue, and it should never be. So here are a couple of things I want to discuss, because the fact that I voted for Orban and I'm actually open about it, I heard these labels on me, oh, an Orbanist. I don't agree with everything that he is doing or his cabinet is doing, and this should come without saying. Once again, I don't agree with anything what my mom says or my dad says. It's like, I don't understand how we became so black and white in life. So we think that just because I voted for Orban, I'm just like 100% behind everything he is doing. No. And I, for one, try to be extremely objective, very critical. And if you remember, and that's the problem with Facebook and, blogging, because some people only see one post from me and that's the first impression they get from me. And my last 7 years has no impact on that particular person. So there was a comment that said that when I listed, all the things Hungary has done in the past, I forgot to add our contribution to the Holocaust. And I tried to explain to her that that post was not about that, and every 4 years I could get 5 minutes when I'm not really talking about the Holocaust vis-a-vis Hungary, but something as a Hungarian pride. And I angled that post differently. But obviously she had no idea who I was, so that's fine. But the point is that I don't agree with everything what Orban is doing. And if you remember back then when, the embassy in Jerusalem was opened by the US and then slowly but surely others followed suit, Hungary did not. And until today, we have not opened our embassy in Jerusalem, which from my perspective is a false policy and not the correct step. But again, that's what it is. If you remember, while I was in Hungary for a month, December, January, there was a swastika that I found really near to my flat in Budapest. And I called the police. And sadly, that swastika was not removed. So even just last week, I sent my parents there to check whether after my third call, that swastika was removed. It was still not. So I am really, really aware of the issues, but again, let's be very honest, especially that today is the anniversary of Sarah Halimi's death. And if you need a reminder, Sarah Halimi was that senior woman in France who was beaten up in her own apartment and then thrown out of the window. That case is still not closed. The guy who killed her is about to be freed because he was under the influence of marijuana. So when these things happen, and every day I am following the news, and sometimes it's extremely overwhelming, and that's why for me roller skating is something that I have to escape to, because otherwise this world of fighting anti-Semitism and anti-Israelism and anti-Zionism is really, really heavy and really demanding. But so when I see this news, and then someone comes with the notion how Hungary is anti-Semitic and how the current government is actually a huge problem, this is just factually incorrect. And I really try to be objective. It's been proven by statistical numbers, both by Hungarian authorities and foreigner ones, that in Hungary, Jews are not being beaten up. Jews are not primary targets. Jews are not afraid to go to a shul. Jews can really pray even on the street on Shabbat. And then you have Sarah Halimi's case, and I'm like really having this cognitive dissonance that I don't understand how can you even compare the two. Are there anti-Semitic comments in Hungary? Yes. The majority comes from a generationally inherited ignorance and stereotypes and prejudice, which obviously is not okay, but let's not kid ourselves. You cannot just eliminate anti-Semitism all in all. Like that's not possibility, even with my positive and utopistic views. But Hungary, it is really safe for the Jews right now, and I can't reiterate enough. So even when this Jewish Hungarian journalist starts stressing me why I endorse Orban, I'm like speechless, because let me tell you how I vote, because some of you even asked like why I voted for Orban. I don't vote based on articles. So I don't vote because of what's happening in Ukraine now, and everyone is making the parallelism that Orban only won because our stance against Ukrainians, which is already crazy, because Hungary actually welcomed 500,000 Ukrainian refugees. 500,000. I understand that this doesn't make headlines, but that is again a fact. So we are there helping Ukraine, and we actually went against Putin so many ways. But that's beyond the point. So how I vote? I see how the current government has an impact on my life. How it's impacting, my real estate, my business, my taxation, my daily life, how it affects my parents. These are the things that I take care of, not like who says what and the nuances of politics. Because also, yes, in this government, there are absolute assholes and there are absolute idiots, and there are some anti-Semitic people also in this government. You can't stop that. But when you vote, you need to vote based on how your life is being impacted, not who wrote what and who said what. So that's my basic notion. So also it's very interesting, and other aspect that I'm always looking at when I vote is evidently Jewish people. So even though I am not Jewish, you know how immersed I am in this community. So for me, it is important. And the facts that I mentioned earlier, they hold true. And then look around in all the more liberal cities, even here in the US. New York has 400% increase in anti-Semitic attacks. 400%. Los Angeles is the same. So wherever there is this liberal leadership as opposed to the more conservative one, you see that Jews are being targeted. Jew hatred is flourishing. Jew hatred is normalized. Vandalization against Jewish properties and physical assault against Jews. Just now before I came line, I read that on the Upper West Side, where I live actually, there were a group of young kids who started to attack with a knife a group of young Jewish kids simply because they were Jews. These are kids, not adults. So these things don't happen in Hungary. Don't. And so for me, this thing, this notion, this inherited concept about Hungary is just wrong on so many levels. And this does not mean that me voting for Orban makes me a blindsided believer, because nobody is God. So I'm really, really objective on that. But I'm definitely endorsing his policy over what I see, for example, here in New York, this uber liberal one. And I love how the media projects the whole thing with when it comes to Jews. is still Soros. That's the only thing that they can really bring up when they talk about Orban, how he went against Soros. And that happened like almost 5 or 6 years ago, and that is still the only thing we can repeat and repeat, proving that Orban is anti-Semite. That in and of itself is just crazy, especially if you think about it, how Soros is actually hurting Israel and Soros is against Israel, whereas Hungary, since this current leadership, is a friend to Israel, and we are continuously vetoing anything anti-Israel, both at the EU and at the UN. So that should, get some credit somewhere. And there was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. But that's what happens when I have so much thought to share and I don't come live so much. But I really want to tell you that this page, and I hope that it's clear, the common denominator among us, regardless of your political affiliations, regardless of your religious background, your race, your anything, the basic notion whoever follows this page should be 2 things. And one is Israel has a legitimacy to exist, and we don't question that. And we are fighting for that it should not be questioned. And the second one is that Jew hatred must have consequences, and we need to find the best tools to fight anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. This is the basic notion of this page. Within that, the tools, the political affiliation, different ideologies can clash, and we can have debates, and we can have misunderstanding and miscommunication, and I want to learn from you. So the fact that there was someone, pretty well-known influencer again in this industry, coming on my private page, that was not on here, and he literally played the non-Jewish card on me, said that you, the non-Jewish person from Budapest, blah, 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 you cannot just say anything. And I'm like, really, you're gonna play that goy card on me? And also, like, I'm not even in Budapest, but to be on the point, that just shows how much he had no idea who I was, but he just came to just trash me. So I'm all for arguments. Always come. If you disagree with me, come with an argument. Teach me. Make me, more curious and open my eyes about your perspective. And maybe I will disagree still, but at least you tried. But I really hate those futile comments, which proves that we come to social media to get offended, right? That's the reason we come. We come online to get offended, to get in a fight, but we don't really want to change anything. So if you ever want to question something that I post, then come with the intention to actually make me understand where you're coming from. And in this way, we can have a dialogue. Otherwise, we are really just, imposing things on each other. The only thing I'm really ready to impose upon you is my love towards roller skating. That's why I'm sharing. It has another reason why I'm sharing, actually. First of all, I really do love, and I hope it gives you some, moments of joy as well, but also it's for the algorithm, because otherwise Facebook keeps on warning me for deletion. So too much Zionism, too much anti-Semitism, it doesn't fly here on Facebook, so I need to add my roller skating addiction, and that's why I'm sharing so much of that as well. But I hope I could clarify some things, like why I voted for Orban, and in just how much of a misconception is there when it comes to one's political affiliation. Life is not black and white, and life should not be black and white. And I don't understand seriously how we got to a point then that we cannot hold different thoughts about situations. Like, I'm just thinking there are so many things on things where I'm more liberal, and things that are more conservative, things, that my core values are there, but within that I'm progressing also as I age, as we change. So the pure assumption that just because someone votes for a government, she's blindsided and just subjective and absolutely stupid and doesn't understand anything else. But it's not only about me, it's the same with American policy. Like, I see the discrepancy and how families fell apart because one, votes for this and the other one votes for this. They're just so insane in my eyes. But just to wrap up this video, the basic denomination here and the basic notion in this page is Israel has the legitimacy to exist, and Israel is here to stay. And the second one is finding tools to fight anti-Semitism. And in brackets also to kind of fighting against anti-Goyism, because that exists. So respect has to go both ways. And yeah, I really hope that I can answer some questions. I will try to come more live because I think it's important. Also, in that way, I probably won't get so much of hate messages, but I don't know, but whatever. But this being said, I wish all of you a good rest of the week, and I know that Passover is coming up, so if I don't come live before, then Hag Pesach Semach, and להתראות. See you later, guys. Bye.